That shot's pretty good too. With all the clutter.
It's a great shot. Yeah, but the clutter is cool clutter.
Yes.
I mean, it looks official. It doesn't look like garbage.
No.
It's not like you see dirty underpants on the desk.
No, that's
Under the desk.
really under the desk.
Yeah.
So
It's typically on the top bunk, but you've been using that.
yes, but I can tell it was there before. I got all your got all your fundies up there.
There was something here before, I think. What is that? What is that Newport Beach smell? That's not Newport Beach. That's just my top bunk, my friend. AKA hamper.
Hamper. Yes. I slept in Dave's hamper. So I've an admission to make.
Okay.
You know the scooter that you took me out on last night?
Yes.
That was a lot of fun, by the way.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
And you played on it while I was working.
Yeah. So I'm going all the way down to the end of the peninsula.
Right.
And at the end of the peninsula, I'm going through a neighborhood to get right up to what is the jetty?
The wedge.
The wedge, yes. So I'm on my way to the wedge.
With the big waves.
And I'm wearing my AirPods. And I thought, Dave talks to me while he's on the scooter. I bet I could call Sarah while I'm riding, just have a quick talk with her. So I say, hey, Siri, call Sarah. And
Did you have your ear pods on?
I had my AirPods on, yeah.
Okay.
And so I give her a call, and they're like, "Oh, you're out on the scooter." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a blast. I'm really enjoying riding this. It's fast, it's powerful."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, can we see?" And I'm like, "Well, sure." So I stop, get out my phone, I put it on FaceTime, and I say hi to the kids, and then I go, but I've got one hand sort of halfway on this handle bar, and then the other hand, other hand's good, but this hand I'm halfway on, holding the phone, sort of allowing them to see me ride.
Okay.
And I hit a bump.
Yeah.
Now, normally hitting a bump's not that big of a deal, right?
When you're holding onto the handlebars.
Yeah, it's got good suspension and all that. Well, I hit this bump, and this hand went like that, slipped off the handlebar.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it turns out on a scooter,
It's over.
this hand has no resistance.
Yeah. You can't ride it one-handed.
And this one came to me, and then the scooter went immediately that way.
Right.
And so now my feet are no longer on a scooter.
No.
They're floating.
They're up over your head.
They're floating through the air, about to hit the ground. Okay. Now, the good news is I wasn't going that fast. I was probably going 10, 15 miles per hour. And I landed it and kept running with it.
Okay.
But it's a heavy scooter, right? Like, how much do you think those weigh?
Oh, like 100 pounds?
100 pounds.
80, 90 pounds?
Yeah, so it still had a lot of momentum, and I was trying to save it. I didn't want to crash it. And I'm in the middle of this just regular street. There's cars on both sides of me, and I'm trying to get it so it doesn't take off and go into a car or something. And so, holding it with all my might, and I may have been pulling the trigger, the throttle as well. So
That makes it harder to hold on to.
yeah, so it is definitely taking off from me. But I'm holding on with one arm as hard as I possibly can, and it's taking off, and it just gets to the point where I can't hold on to it anymore, and it falls, and I fall, and so I'd totally crashed your scooter. So
Well, you're obviously okay.
I am. I'm a little
good.
banged up. I hit my hand. I've my new pants. Sarah just got me. Totally tore up the knee, and I got a little bit of road rash on my knee. But the scooter has a couple of. Well, you can tell that it's been used now. So
Yeah, that's all right. It's that's why I got two, so that one can get wrecked, but I always have at least one.
yes,
That's the goal.
yes. So I'll just ride that one for the rest of the week.
You're obviously not scared of getting in too much trouble because you just said it on the show, and Sarah's probably going to hear it.
She saw it live.
Oh, that's true. Okay, because I'm like, no, if it was me, I'd be like, all right, butt in the mouth, run to the store, new jeans. Sarah will never know.
Yeah, that I didn't have that.
That's
option.
what I forgot.
Nor would I have wanted to take that option, honestly. But
Neither would I.
yeah, no. But
I
no.
changed my mind. I would not do that.
Now, one thing that people may not know about my lovely wife, I mean, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
She does have a funny quirk about her.
Okay.
That when she sees people crash on YouTube videos and such,
Yeah.
like America's Funniest Home videos and stuff, if she sees someone fall and hurt themselves,
Yeah.
that's comedic gold to her. She thinks that's the funniest thing in the world. And so what's funny is here I am going through a traumatic event in a scooter crash. She's watching first person view of this very crash. And when I finally get up and I'm trying to make sure I don't have any broken bones, I still have all 10 of my fingers and stuff.
And checked the scooter.
And
for
checked the
any
scooter, of
scratching.
course.
Thank you.
She's on my phone 10 feet away laughing, giggling while I'm trying to make sure everything's...
Did you smash your phone?
No, I didn't smash it, but it did slide a little bit.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no, that's true. Because I see those videos where it's like all the skateboarders just like rack their nuts on some railing they were trying to go down or whatever. I hate those videos where people like smashing their head or something like that. Like, it just hurts me to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why there's so many of them. But that must be because people like Sarah exist who think that's really funny.
yeah, and what's additionally funny is it's an extra quirk about her is you would think that watching a YouTube video of someone you have no idea who it is,
Yeah.
you would think that would be okay. But then, like, when someone in your family gets hurt,
Your husband. Like,
your
you
husband,
care.
yeah, you would care. No, I think she thinks that's even funnier. My kids every once in a while will get hurt, and she has to like leave the room because she's laughing.
She
so
thinks
hard.
it's so funny that the kids got
Sometimes.
her own children.
Well, they'll fall down the stairs or something. She thinks that's just now. If it's a situation where they're like
Bleeding.
when I say fall down the stairs, I mean like if it's a little snowy outside and like they slip on the last step, and you can tell that they're not going to get hurt.
Got it.
She'll giggle.
So she's not a psycho.
Not a psycho. To the extent that I have understood in the last 13 years of marrying her, not
She's
a
not
psycho.
a psycho.
Yep. All signs point to not psycho.
Okay. Wow. Well, yeah, the scooter doesn't really matter because they're pretty big honking scooters. I mean,
Yeah.
you mean they're not like the normal little things that you rent downtown, the little bird scooters or whattever. My scooters are like little motorcycles shaped like a scooter.
Yes, which is what's great about them.
Yeah, they go forever and they go like the wind.
Yeah, they're so fast.
Yeah.
I think I got up into the mid 40s.
Yeah.
So you said you've gotten it up to over
53.
53.
Yep.
Wow.
But I tried it when we were out, and on that straightaway, I only got it to 45 because it was windy.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, shoot, that's still too fast to be on an electric scooter. No helmet, no pads, little tiny wheels. A little.
It feels like it gets a little unstable once you get them into the 40s.
I mean, they're pretty awesome.
yeah.
And that's why I have two of them. I got two because I got one and it was so fun. And it was like, but I can't, nobody else is enjoying this with me.
Yes.
So I got to have one for my friends. Otherwise, I'm always going to be by myself.
Yep.
So I got the extra one.
I would agree.
And a lot of friends of mine have ridden that thing.
Yeah, I would say that
You're the first fall.
it is. I like to think of it as I'm just happen to be
You're the top of the list.
adventurous.
It's going to
enough
happen.
To happen.
Oh, I guarantee that's true. You and I were riding it differently than the other people I know. The other people I know are nervous. They keep it in really slow gears. You and I were riding
I'm
it properly.
dumb enough to ride it incorrectly.
You were riding it properly. The problem is you were trying to film yourself one-handed. So it's not a skill problem.
Yeah.
It's a too many activities problem.
Yes.
And they're actually so stable that I've tried to ride one-handed, not thinking. Feels like it's fine. But if you take your hand off the handlebar, it does, wobble. And, my cousin smashed her face on an electric scooter. And she broke her jaw in multiple places. And she had to have she broke a bunch of teeth in her mouth. She
Oh, no.
had to have her jaw wired shut.
Did she get it on video? My wife might be in.
Yeah, no, she didn't get it on video. Not that I've seen. I've saw some pretty sad videos of her, talking with the wired, the hospital pictures and everything like that. And I just got the scooters when she did this, and I asked her how it happened. She's like, "Oh, I was on an electric scooter and I tried to ride one-handed." And I was like, "Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
One-handed is an instant death." On those things.
Or even half a hand and a bump.
Because then it goes to
And a phone. A phone, a half a hand, and a bump, you can slip off. And then...
the old phone half hand bump play.
Exactly.
Happens all the time. If I've heard it once. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I am too.
And
hopefully the rest of the week I won't have any more problems.
Yeah. And hopefully that as long as all the throttle cables are good and it'll still go.
Oh, it came back.
Well, then we'll ride it more.
There we go.
That reminds me of a passage I read earlier from Romans 13.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I'll read it now. It's Romans 13, 11 through 14. This is all the more urgent for you, how late it is. No.
Want to try that again?
Yeah. When we're here, I'm normally a lot closer to the screen.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that as my excuse.
I totally agree.
I can read it. You don't have to worry about it.
But now you can't.
Now you made it worse. Okay. Romans 13, 11 through 14. This is all the more urgent, for you know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up, for your salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is almost gone. The day of salvation will soon be here. So remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes and put on the shining armor of right living. Because we belong to the day, we must live decent lives for all to see. Don't participate in the darkness of wild parties and drunkenness, or in sexual promiscuity and immoral living, or in quarreling and jealousy. Instead, clothe yourself with the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ, and don't let yourself think about ways to indulge your evil desires. Romans 13, 11 through 14. So this salvation is obviously talking about after this life. This is talking about the end of this life when he's talking about salvation, because he's saying it's forthcoming. He's not talking about, the salvation that we've referred to, where salvation means, you've become a Christian and you now have the Holy Spirit help guiding you. Correct?
I'm trying to figure out what it means when it says, this is all more urgent for you to know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up, for your salvation is nearer now than when we first believed.
When our salvation.
Yeah, when our salvation.
That's what I mean. It's a collective salvation.
Mm-hmm. Then when we first believed, the night is almost gone, and the day of salvation will soon be here. So remove your dark deeds. Okay. Yeah, I think that this is talking about,
Going to heaven.
yes, going to heaven or the return of Jesus. At this point, they didn't know when Jesus was coming back. They thought it was potentially during their lifetime.
Everyone thinks it's potentially during their lifetime.
Yeah. So, so it's interesting because he's like, get ready
Buckle up.
because you're going to experience the salvation and you want to be sort of like when the bridegroom came, you want to be ready. Yeah. And so what does that look like?
Live right.
Live right. Yep.
Put away all the, don't participate in wild parties and drunkenness, sexual promiscuity, immoral living, quarreling and jealousy. That's funny. Quarreling and jealousy gets put on the list because you can imagine like wild parties, getting drunk, hooking up with randoms, living immorally, just generally. That those are all kind of like lifestyle choices that you choose to participate in or not. Then he ends it with saying quarreling or jealousy. And that's kind of an odd thing for quarreling and jealousy to be on this list. They don't seem to really fit. Except that maybe if you're quarreling, what are you quarreling about? You're just focused on something that's temporary. Like, what are you guys fighting about? Like money, the trash cans, like whatever. Like you're quarreling and you're getting at each other because you're focused on something that is right here. And then jealousy, kind of the same thing. Like,
yeah, you're concerned about things of this world.
Yeah, it's like I'm jealous that I don't have these things or that I didn't get that or that person's not paying attention to me. It's kind of like you're not living for eternity or thinking salvation's right around the corner. You're thinking, I'm not getting something that I really feel like should be mine.
Yeah, and jealousy really is more of a heart issue, where the other ones are sort of more outward things. And so that's kind of interesting. But quarreling and jealousy, they're hand and foot, right? Like they work together. They, I think you're right that you're dealing with things that are sort of temporal. They're of this life, and it's like, hey, don't worry about these things. There's something better coming. And I really like the part that says, remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes and put on the shining armor of right living. I like the imagery of right living is like shining armor.
Yep.
I mean, everyone likes to think of themselves as like knights in shining armor. And so this is how the Bible phrases it. It's like, no, your shining armor is by living correctly.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And it'll protect you.
And it will protect you. Yes.
Well, you imagine wild parties and getting drunk and promiscuity. Those are all like choices that you can easily just say, okay, well, there's going to be a crazy bender going on Saturday. I'm not going to go. But it's hard when you talk about something like jealousy or anger or something like that. Like it sort of rises up within you. If you're jealous, you didn't ever choose. No one said, I want to be jealous. And so I'm going to be a jealous person.
Yeah.
It seems like a completely involuntary thing. Quarreling, I guess, is voluntary in a sense of, well, when you're mad at someone, you just either let it go, but you don't get into some back and forth pointless quarrel. But, you might be really mad about that person, which is starting the quarrel in the first place. And jealousy just seems involuntary. How do you decide not to be jealous?
Well, you decide not to be jealous. You put it away like dirty clothes.
Okay.
No, I mean if you're jealous,
that's like saying don't laugh at the joke. If you think it's funny, it's hard not to laugh because it's like, well, laughter is involuntary.
So I would say laughter is more voluntary than jealousy. Like if you said anxiety, I'd be like, yeah, there's really not much you can do about anxiety. But I feel like you have a more of a handle with jealousy. You can, if you show me something and I'm like, ooh, that's a really nice scooter or a really nice camera or something, there might be a little bit of jealousy there, but it's like, no, I'm really happy with what I have.
Okay.
I don't like I have to actually consider it and say, no, like I have what God has provided me with, and I'm not unhappy.
Well, that's like coveting.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a thing.
Uh-huh.
But there might be another person living another life
That you would be jealous of.
that
how
you're
they're
like,
living.
you're like, oh man, you're jealous. Or flip it around. You might have somebody that you really care about that you're working hard for, and you want their affection, and you see their affection going towards
something else.
someone else.
Yeah.
You know, imagine people who have kids who you're in a broken family and you've got a deadbeat. One of the parents is a deadbeat, but the kids who didn't even hardly know that person, who have been basically neglected, love that other parent and not you, even though you're the one doing all the work, or something like that. Or you've got you're married and all of a sudden, you know, the other friend, the person that she works with, or the girls that are in the office that are so funny and pretty, that are always have something new, and you can tell he really admires those girls, and they've accomplished something that he respects, and you're just yourself. You're at home, and it's like, well, this makes you jealous of that because you want that person's attention or that person's affection, or you want that person's life, or you want those kids to appreciate. You know, I'm trying to think of scenarios of jealousy, but it seems like it's involuntary, and it's like it's an extremely strong emotion that I can't. When I'm jealous, which is not that often, but when it's happened, it's usually been in the context of a relationship where the girl is interested in someone else and not me, and I want to be that guy instead, or I want her to think, you know, it's not that I want to be that guy, I just want her to like me more than him. Mm-hmm. And it's like a flame, and I can't just say, well, I'm not going to be jealous, I'm going to put it away like dirty clothes. I can say that in theory, but it's not like, it's not something that I chose. I didn't want to feel this way, I just do. So I either have to think less of her, which, I mean, the natural reaction for me is to be like, in my mind, middle finger to that person. I don't like any of you, and I don't want anything to do with you guys, because then I don't have to feel jealous because I've just written the whole bunch of them off.
Yeah.
And then I'll never call them, never talk to them. We're not friends anymore, but I won't feel the jealousy anymore. That's one solution.
I mean, I think that you still can make the decision to not be jealous. I understand that.
I wonder if you've never felt jealous. Have you felt jealous in your life?
I think yeah.
I don't think you have.
What do you mean? How could I not feel jealous?
You don't. I'm trying to think. I have such a intimate relationship with jealousy. Like, I think we've just pinpointed a big sin of mine or something, because I find that our relationship with it, I think, is different.
Huh.
Like, I wonder if have you ever lost a night of sleep because you're just so racked up with a feeling of jealousy?
No.
Yeah.
No,
I have a problem.
I can't think of a time where I've been that jealous.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I'm being sincere right now, it's like for me, it's more things.
Yeah.
Like,
but is that coveting though? Is there a difference?
I guess maybe there is, but I think coveting is like, I want that, and I'll be willing to, like, you know, like, I want to steal that.
Right.
Whether or not you steal it, but it's this like deep desire to have.
Got it.
And the way I would define jealousy is it's very similar. Like, and I'm, to be completely sincere, it's like I've been researching cameras over the last year. Mm-hmm. When you bought the camera, I was like, hey, that's the one.
That nice camera.
And there it is.
We look good on it too.
We do. How could we not? It's such a great camera.
That's right.
But when you told me, hey, I bought that camera, I was like, oh, like,
okay,
that, like, I'm happy for you. Right?
Yeah, I understand.
It's not like I want to come to your house and steal your camera. I'm happy for you, but it's like,
Although I feel like you didn't have to say that. When you say it, now it makes me go, is he going to steal this camera?
Hey, I'll leave mine.
Okay, so this is how I picture it. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, who knows? I'm maybe way off the track here. Jealousy just threw me for a loop.
Yeah. No, I think this is a good path to go down.
I'm
curious.
You can covet your neighbor's wife. That's coveting. You can see your neighbor who's got a beautiful wife, and then
you say, I want what they have.
I want what they have. And so you're not a good guy, and so you pursue it. Mm-hmm. Your advances towards her seem to be working. So you're acting out of a covetous place. The way her husband feels when he notices it is a jealous place.
Okay.
So the person who's losing something, potentially losing something, because he loves his wife, and he sees that all the affection that he desires for her, and he wants her to feel towards him because they're in a marriage, and he sees he's losing it, and not only is he losing it, he's got the face of somebody that has what he wants. This is why it says God is a jealous God.
Yeah.
God can't even control his own jealousy. Now, it's a righteous jealousy because he created us. So the fact that he's jealous and he wants us to serve him, that is good for us and him. That's the system that he created. But he's not going to put up with any loyalty that is where he's not first. So jealousy, in this case, in our case, because we shouldn't really feel that kind of ownership necessarily, can be sinful.
Yeah.
I think with a husband and wife, it's actually not sinful. I think that's natural.
Yeah. And I think that the Bible, I don't know if the Bible specifically says this, but that imagery of marriage is kind of what.
But you can have that same feeling with somebody who you're not married to. You could be dating them.
Yeah.
And so you could still want that desire for yourself and that admiration and whatever, and then see it start, you lose it to someone else who's coveting a relationship with her instead of you or something.
Yeah.
Or like I said, like I imagine kids who really love their dad who shows up all of a sudden with toys once a year instead of, and the mother is sitting there going, I pour everything into the kids, but I have to be the disciplinarian. I have to be. And then she's jealous that the kids love and admire their father and not her. And then that's where you get parents that start talking really terrible about the other one because they want their kids' affection and admiration on them and not the other.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that seems to me, every time I've ever experienced jealousy, it feels involuntary. Perhaps I fostered it. Perhaps that means that my gauge is off and I'm not, or maybe I don't even understand what he means by jealousy because
No, I think that my understanding of jealousy may have been incorrect. Maybe not. I don't know. The reason I say that is because it seems to be closer to what you're describing, the way God is jealous.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying may be more covetousness.
If you're jealous someone got a new scooter and you don't have a scooter, that's like coveting the scooter.
Yeah.
But you might also be jealous of the person for having a different life than you.
Yeah.
I could see that, saying, I wish I had a life like that person, and everything happens good for him and everything happens bad for me. That's what everybody says about me, man. They look at my life and they're like, it's paradise. Everything happens good for you.
And so now that you put it, now that we kind of talk this out, I'm having trouble thinking of a time where I've been jealous.
Yeah, I think you haven't.
Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just like everyone else. I look at my life, and I see other people the way they live, and it's like you can always play the Joneses game, right? Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yes.
And I'm just a regular guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing extraordinary about how I'm living as far as, worldly material things.
Yeah.
Like I'm just.
So a good example of jealousy is probably Joseph, because Joseph was the dad's favorite.
Yes.
And all the brothers were jealous of Joseph. And Joseph got the big multiple colored coat
Yep.
that dad gave him as a special gift that signified kind of a favoritism. They didn't get coats. And I don't think any of them really cared about the coat. It was really more about, oh, you get a coat now? Like, what more? And so then they ended up throwing him in the well and selling him into slavery.
Yeah.
And so that was like not a good jealousy. And it resulted in problems and sin. Selling your brother into slavery is sinful.
Yeah. Turns out.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. But that's a
So
good,
you're saying this is not the right thing to do?
that's a good amount. That's a good example of bad jealousy. But as a son, especially since you've got 11 other brothers or whatever there was, they all collectively wanted to have their father's pride and admiration. And they saw that Joseph had it, and Joseph had it more than them. Yeah. And so they felt jealousy. And they weren't coveting the coat, but they were jealous of the relationship that Joseph somehow had. And so that led to problems and darkness. And so really they needed to somehow get over that. But as a son, especially in that culture where you're really like family sort of everything, and there's like he's the top guy father, and the oldest had a special birthright, and it was like they had a rank or people. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
For them to be dad's favorite.
Yep.
And it's like, well, how do you prevent that son who's, let's say number 4 in line, nothing special about him.
But he was the oldest son of the wife that he really loved, Rachel.
Right.
Leah was kind of thrown in on the bargain, and the other kids came from Rachel's and Leah's servants. So
Joseph was a freak.
Well, they definitely. It's interesting because it was Rachel's idea because she couldn't have kids herself.
I think Rachel found a way to conquer the sin of jealousy.
By
obviously she wasn't jealous.
I think she was definitely jealous. I think Leah and Rachel.
I thought you said it was her idea that he would have kids with her
maid, or maidservant. But
most women would be jealous of that.
Oh, she was definitely jealous.
Sarah was jealous of Abraham for doing that.
Well, she was jealous of Leah because she had kids. And Rachel's sitting there like, he loves me, but I can't have kids. That's jealousy overcame the idea of him being with.
See? So these are good examples of very difficult to just say, you know what? I don't have any kids. I'm not going to be jealous about it. Even if you say I'm going to act right, it's hard not to experience jealousy when you feel like it's a defining thing. I'm supposed to be a mother. I'm supposed to have kids. Everyone else gets them. And you don't covet the specific kid. You want your own kids. So you're jealous of like their scenario.
You're going to have me thinking. I'm going to come up with something.
Being jealous
about.
Okay.
I'm jealous that you have jealousy in your background.
Trust me. It is nice to have one up on you finally.
So it says that remove your dirty clothes and put on the shining armor of right living. And then later it says, instead, clothe yourselves with the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ. So it's funny, it says put on the shining armor of right living, but it also contrasted take off the dirty clothes with a different analogy as well. It's a double analogy on the positive side.
Yep.
Instead, clothe yourselves with the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ, and don't let yourself think about ways to indulge your evil desires. It's interesting. Isn't it interesting that it doesn't say don't let yourself indulge your evil desires?
Yeah.
It says don't let yourself think about ways to indulge your evil desires. It's like, don't even think about it.
Yeah, because that obviously happens first. You make the plans before you enact them. So if you can stop it at the planning stage, you'll never execute it.
Yeah. So you have evil desires. You don't want to think about ways to indulge them. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about the analogy of where you've got the kid who goes and tries to touch the television knob and dad says no. And then that kid really should say, okay, daddy, and go play with his toys. And that would make everyone happy.
Yes, sir.
But if that kid chooses to sulk and spends the rest of the evening staring at that television knob, wanting to touch it so bad, it's going to be way harder for that kid to remain obedient because it's just going to call him. He's going to imagine touching it so many times. And whether he does or doesn't, he's just ruined his own evening. So the best thing is to just say, okay, daddy, and go find a new toy.
Do you relate to that idea?
100%.
Really?
100%. I probably picked a scenario where it's a little bit young for me.
Okay.
You
don't look at TV knobs?
Yeah. My dad hasn't told me not to touch the TV in a while.
Okay.
So I think that analogy might be dated, but the
you can
feeling
think
of a kid who's been told no and is being obedient, let's say for the foreseeable future, but hasn't dropped it. It's like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I've been told no, I know, but I am going to stare at it and wish, because it's better to stare at it and wish than to let go, because I'm not a quitter. I can relate to that for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
And I probably, I can see that. It was just the way you said it made me feel like Dave's actually experienced that.
Well, I just imagine TV is the one thing that little kids can't touch, because if the TV's on, other people are watching something.
Yeah.
That little kid doesn't understand what the channel changer does. It just looks like something he wants to touch. Same with, I could have said the stove, but that's seems a little bit darker. So I was going with the TV. And kids always touch that. Nowadays they don't, because there's no knobs on the TV. But when I was a kid, there were knobs. So,
so clothe yourself with the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ. How do you think you can do that?
With the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ, instead of staring at the knob, be meditating on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spending time with him, when you spend time with him and you feel his presence, at that moment in like prayer, then do what it takes to keep it. Clothe yourself in it just means drape it and never, wear it everywhere you go. Keep your mind on him. And then if you do, you won't let yourself think about ways to indulge your evil desires, because they really are opposites. Mm-hmm. If you are trying to seek the Lord and you're spending a day with him, then when something that pops up in your mind that would normally tempt you jumps in front of you, you have a visceral reaction. It's like you've got two competing things in your same brain.
Yeah.
You're talking to God, and then all of a sudden something happened. I remember I was in the airport somewhat recently, and I was praying and was listening to worship music. Mm-hmm. In the middle of it, I got a text message from someone, and the relationship I have with that person isn't the best. And it caused I just by seeing the name on the phone, it caused my brain to start going down a totally different road. And I didn't even want to do that. I was listening to Christian music and praying, and it was like, no. And I was like,
sorry, I texted you at that time.
Yeah, it wasn't you. But the point is, it was like, okay,
but they know who they are.
You know who you are. No.
So, but what happened?
I had to deal with, it was like introducing this person. It was a girl texting me.
Okay.
And me and her have some history. And so now I have this, my brain goes, oh my goodness. And I start thinking about other things, and it's like, no, I don't want that. And I have like, all of a sudden, like, I didn't ask for it. I wasn't looking forward to it, or I wasn't going for it. But all of a sudden I have this meeting of, well, those thoughts and the prayer and worship, they don't go in the same, they're driven by two different things.
Yeah.
And so then I have to make a decision. So when I think you asked, how do you clothe yourself in the presence of the Lord Jesus? If you're doing that and you're spending time with him, and don't let yourself think of ways to indulge your evil desires, when that shows up, you will have a choice to make, and you're going to do one or the other. It's weird how your brain can't do both.
Yeah. And do you think that would help you out with jealousy?
Quite possibly. Yeah. Okay. I've never been in a situation where that was so clearly at a crossroads.
Yeah. Something to give a try.
Let's try that.